Have you ever wondered how websites get their unique look and feel? The secret behind this lies in the magic of CSS, which stands for Cascading Style Sheets. CSS is a style sheet language that is used to describe the look and formatting of a document written in HTML or XML. Picture it as the fashion stylist of the web, dictating everything from typography, colors, layout, and even animations. It's like providing a set of instructions for your browser to follow, telling it how to dress up your website, giving it a personality that speaks volumes about your brand or message. In essence, while HTML lays down the structure of your web page, CSS comes in to style it, giving your website its distinct visual appearance. It's the reason why no two websites look exactly alike, and why the web is such a diverse and creative space. Now that we understand what CSS is, let's dive deeper into how it works. So, how does CSS work exactly? Well, it's all about the syntax, the set of rules that define how we write and structure our CSS code. Let's break it down. CSS syntax is composed of three main parts: selectors, properties, and values. First off, we have selectors. These are the HTML elements you want to style. For example, if we want to change the color of all paragraphs in our web page, the paragraph tag P would be our selector. Moving on to properties, these define what aspect of the element you want to style. In our paragraph example, if we want to change the text color, the property would be color. There are numerous properties available, allowing us to alter everything from the size, color, position, and even the behavior of an element. Finally, we have values. These specify the settings you want to apply for the chosen property. If we want our paragraphs to be blue, blue would be the value assigned to the color property. So putting it all together, if we want all paragraphs to be blue, our CSS would look like this: P color blue. The selector, property, and value are all combined to create a CSS rule. This rule is enclosed in curly brackets and ends with a semicolon. A CSS file can contain countless rules all working together to create the look and feel of your website. You can style multiple properties for a single element, or apply a single style to multiple elements. The possibilities are endless. To illustrate, consider this: P color blue, font size 18px. This rule will style all paragraphs with blue text at 18 pixels in size. Meanwhile, H1, H2, H3 color red will apply red text to all first, second, and third level headings. So there you have it. That's the basic syntax of CSS. It may seem a bit intimidating at first, but like any language, practice makes perfect. Understanding the syntax is the first step in mastering CSS. Now that we know the basic syntax, how do we add CSS to an HTML document? Well, there are three primary methods for integrating CSS into HTML: inline, internal, and external. Let's break each one down. First up, inline CSS. This involves adding style directly to an HTML element using the style attribute. Here's an example. Suppose we have a paragraph element and we want to change its color to blue. We'd write p-style color blue. This is a blue paragraph. As you can see, the CSS property and value are placed within the style attribute, directly altering the appearance of the element. Next, we have internal CSS. This method involves placing CSS code within style tags in the head section of the HTML document. Here's how it works. Body, background color light gray. This changes the background color of the entire body of the document to light gray. The advantage of this method is that the styles can be applied to multiple elements within the HTML document, not just one. Finally, we have external CSS. This method involves linking an external CSS file to the HTML document. To do this, we use the link element in the head section of the HTML. It looks something like this: link href styles.cs rel style sheet. The href attribute points to the location of the CES file. This method is highly efficient for large websites, as it allows for the separation of HTML and CSS, making the code cleaner and easier to manage. But remember, each of these methods has its own pros and cons. Inline CSS is quick and easy, but not ideal for large-scale styling. Internal CSS allows for broader styling within a single document, but can become cumbersome in larger projects. And while external CSS is great for large-scale projects, it requires the management of separate files. As you can see, there are several ways to add CSS to HTML, each with its own advantages and disadvantages. Selectors are a crucial part of CSS, but what exactly are they? Let's dive right in. CSS selectors, in essence, are the tools we use to pick out specific HTML elements we want to style. You could think of them as the choose what to dress part of a morning routine, where the wardrobe is your web page, the clothes are your HTML elements, and the outfit you choose is your CSS style. There are several types of selectors we can use, each with its unique way of targeting elements. The simplest one is the type selector. Say you want to style all paragraph tags in your document. You would simply use the P selector in your CSS like a universal dress code for all paragraphs. Then we have the class selector, which is like a special club outfit. Any HTML element can join this club by using the same class attribute in its tag. In your CSS, you'd use a period followed by the class name to style these elements. So if you have a class called highlight, your CSS selector would be highlight. Next up is the ID selector, the personal stylist of the CSS world. Each ID is unique to a single HTML element, like a tailor-made suit. You'd use a hash symbol followed by the ID name in your CSS to style this one specific element. We also have combinatory selectors, which allow us to select elements based on a specific relationship or condition. For example, the descendant selector selects elements that are descendants of a specific element. It's like saying, style all the shirts in the top drawer, where the drawer is your parent element and the shirts are the child elements. Lastly, we have pseudo-class selectors, which select elements based on their state. It's like adjusting your outfit based on the weather, where the weather is the state of the HTML element, like hover or focus. These are just a few examples. There are many more CSS selectors, each with its unique power to target and style HTML elements. So don't be afraid to play around and experiment. After all, selectors are the backbone of CSS, enabling us to apply styles to specific elements on a web page. One of the most important concepts in CSS is the box model. It's the foundation of layout design, defining how elements on the page interact and fit together. The box model is like a box with 4 distinct layers, each playing a specific role in shaping the appearance and positioning of an element. First, at the heart of the box, we have the content. This is the core of any element, where your text, images, or other media reside. The dimensions of this content box can be manipulated using the height and width properties in CSS. Wrapped around the content, we have the padding. Think of padding as a cushion for your content, providing space between the content and the border. Padding is transparent, so it doesn't affect the color or design of your content, but it does affect the overall size of the element. Next up is the border. This is a line that goes around the padding and content. The border can be styled in various ways, with different widths, styles, and colors using the border property. It's important to note that the border is part of the total dimension of the box. Finally, on the outermost layer, we have the margin. The margin is the space around the element and its border. It's used to create space between different elements, helping to structure your layout by controlling the distance between elements. The sum of these 4 components, content, padding, border, and margin, determines the total size of the element. When you're specifying the width and height of an element, remember, you're setting the size of the content box. Any padding, border, or margin will add to this size, increasing the total space the element takes up on the page. The box model is not just a concept, it's a tool. It's a way of thinking about design and layout that can make your life as a developer much easier. By understanding how these layers interact, you can create more complex and aesthetically pleasing designs. Understanding the box model is key to mastering layout in CSS. It's the cornerstone of effective, efficient, and beautiful web design. So, keep practicing, keep exploring, and you'll become a CSS layout pro in no time. So, what have we learned about CSS? We've journeyed through the realm of cascading style sheets, discovering its purpose as a style sheet language used for describing the look and formatting of a document written in HTML. We've delved into the syntax of CSS, understanding how it uses selectors to target HTML elements and properties to define how those elements should be displayed. We've also explored how to add CSS to HTML either inline, internally, or externally, each method having its own use cases and benefits. Our exploration of CSS selectors enlightened us on how they enable us to target and style specific elements, classes, or IDs. And last but not least, we got acquainted with the CSS box model, the layout module that deals with design and layout, encompassing padding, borders, margins, and the content itself. With these basics under your belt, you're well on your way to mastering CSS and creating visually appealing websites.